Hi, good morning. My name is Kubeir. I am an ICCRC licensed immigration consultant, and this is my channel where we talk about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should be doing, things you definitely should not be doing as far as the Canadian immigration process is concerned. And today is our weekly roundup, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a change, we are on time. And in this weekly roundup, we cover whatever has happened within the week in terms of provincial nominee programs, draws, any news, anything you should be worried about, anything you did not know about, and those things. So grab your coffee or grab whatever you want to grab at this point of time, and let's get this show started. As usual, we start with the quote of the week. And with that, hope is the companion of power and mother of success. For who so hopes strongly has within him the gift of miracles. Well said, Samuel Smiles. I love this quote, and it sort of has so much of resonance. Like if you keep your hope within your heart, there is always a good chance you will see the miracles. So miracles have to first start with you having those hopes. Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Okay, and let's see what are the topics of discussion. Latest PNPs, Quebec REMA draws, other news, question and answers. That's what the agenda would be for today's session. The first one, as we start, would be with provincial nominee programs. And in provincial nominee programs, we have our regular suspect, British Columbia, as usual. 87 invitations have been issued in the new PNP draw, which was on the 16th of November. 87 tech workers under the BC PNP tech program were invited. And then they also, and the candidates who were invited, they had a provincial score of 75. So far, British Columbia has invited, or rather has issued, more than 10,500 invitations, which is amazing. Then next, on the same heels, came Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatchewan did not conduct a draw for nearly 2 months. And when they did conduct a draw, which was pretty cool, it was a big draw. Actually, the largest PNP draw of the year. 633 invitations were issued. So we basically count it as two different streams because they are two different streams. So they have the express entry subcategory and then the occupations in demand subcategory. And the lowest score in this particular draw was only 65 points. Yeah, okay, I understand that the number of occupations was also less. It was only 14 eligible occupations, and most of them were construction-related NOC codes. But this is the thing with all draws, right? If they have to issue more number of invitations, then you will see the scores coming down. With Saskatchewan, it's always the number of invitations and the number of NOC codes. So the less the number of NOC codes, the more the number of invitations, definitely the scores will come down. The next one we had was the okay, we're jumping way forward. Let's get back. Yeah. So the next one we had was for Prince Edward Islands. Let's see. Yeah, Prince Edward Islands, 188 people were invited in this latest draw. 172 invitations were issued to the express entry and labor impact categories, and 16 candidates were invited from the business impact categories. As usual, if you already don't know, then for Prince Edward Islands, they have a separate portal. You will need to create your profile on their portal. Once you create your profile on their portal, you will then be able to expect a draw, or rather expect an ITA. However, with Prince Edward Islands, as we have always seen, they usually do not invite anybody outside the province. So if you have any connection to the province, then there is a good possibility of you being invited. Otherwise, the chances are pretty slim. Another province who also doesn't fail us is Manitoba. This time they invited 428 candidates. Skilled workers in Manitoba were 376 with a score of only 464, which is pretty decent. Skilled worker overseas was only 22 invitations, which is quite less, and therefore the score went really high, 726. The international education stream had 30 invitations. Obviously, there was no score. And for the express entry system draw, which they had, I mean, the link, the score was only a 68. Quebec, okay, yes, of course, Quebec. I mean, for people who follow Quebec, then there were 33 immigration candidates who were selected to apply on the November 11th draw. These were the candidate selection from the ARIMA portal. Now, this is the 12th draw that Quebec has held this year, and they have invited 3,256 candidates. They tend to operate pretty slow in terms of the draw and in terms of the whole process. But however, in this particular draw, the candidates needed to have a job offer outside the Montreal metropolitan area. What else do we have? We have the other news. In other news, okay, let's see what we have in other news. Starting with Nova Scotia. Now, Nova Scotia has an in-demand occupation stream whereby they have added 3 more occupations to that list. So you have the new occupations that have been added was, or rather 6513, the food and beverage servers, the NOC 6711, the food counter attendants, and then you had the NOC 6731, which was the light duty cleaners. Now, in addition to that, they also have NOC 3413, 7511, 7611, and 7521, which are also eligible under the in-demand occupation stream. Well, you don't really need much as far as Nova Scotia is concerned. All you need is to be in the age group of 21 to 55 years, which is like, wow. Then you need IELTS of only CLB4. I mean, come on, man. And education is only high school diploma. You only need 1 year of work experience in the eligible occupation. Then what is the catch? Well, the catch, as usual, is that you will need a job offer from the employer in Nova Scotia in that specific NOC code. That is where the catch is. So that's Nova Scotia for you. They have added 3 more occupations demand. This particular program is quite helpful for people if you are in Canada. If you are in Canada, you're struggling to figure out what your pathway to immigration is going to be. You have completed your studies. You cannot score pretty high in IELTS. Well, Nova Scotia is something you could consider. If you have 1 year of work experience, you get over to Nova Scotia, find an employer, have them give you a job offer. And then if you get a job offer in one of these NOC codes, then yes, you would be eligible to apply under the Nova Scotia stream. And something which has been making so much of news, my God, I mean, every TikTok video that I've been watching, every Instagram reel that I've been watching, every post that I've been seeing is only talking about this 1.8 million applications in backlog. Now, for some reason, because the publication from where it first originated, where the first article came, it talked about 1.8 million applications. So everybody is now saying 1.8 million applications, 1.8 million. I mean, it is not applications. If you go back to the article and actually go, I mean, it was I think it was released on cicnews.com. That's where the whole article came up from. And the article says 1.8 million applications. But if you were actually to go down and see the breakdown of all those numbers, you would see the numbers are in persons, not in applications, which basically means one application could actually have multiple number of people on that application. And therefore, the numbers is in person. Also, what we also need to do is keep this whole thing in context. So what I mean by keep this whole thing in context, and by that I mean is that you have to also see how many applications, or rather the number of people IRCC has processed in 2021. Now, if you see here, it says 548 permanent residents in persons. That is what is the backlog. 776 temporary residents. So this is your TRVs, spouse open work permits, study permits, other work permits, your visit visas, all of that is pending. 776 people. Then you have 468,000 Canadian citizenships. And these are basically primarily have to be applications. Now you have to understand that if they could not even take care of the citizenship application, which obviously is quite crucial to them, because these guys are going to be their vote bank. Imagine, with everything else, how it's going. But then if you then put everything in perspective and look at the number of applications that were processed by IRCC in 2021, now again, it says applications. I think it's number of people again, because it has to be the same data, right? It says 337,000 people were processed for permanent residence in 2021. 1.5 million, that's huge. Temporary residence, people were processed under temporary residence. And there were 134,000 people who were processed for Canadian citizenship application. So when you look at these backlogs and then you see what IRCC is actually processed within the year, the picture doesn't look that bad, right? Then you know that, okay, fair enough. Yes, there is a backlog. Yes, things have not been looking pretty nice. But with the way IRCC has the capacity of processing the applications and the number of people, it should not take that long once they get on with it, right? So yeah, that is the number that everybody should be aware of. Instead of freaking out with the number of applications, it's actually the number of people. Also, Sean Fraser, our new immigration minister, who was sworn in on the 28th of October, was speaking to some media spokesperson and has said that he is even open to increasing the number of immigration quotas going forward. Obviously, it depends on the requirement of businesses and communities. So whether there are more workers required, whether the number of people requirement is set quite high. Well, actually it is, because if you were to go down and speak to different businesses, they would tell you that the requirement of, there is a huge shortage of number of people. They can't really find people anymore. For different reasons, because a lot of people have moved. They have moved to different places. In a lot of locations, they just cannot find people to come and work. So they have been facing shortages. So with this Sean Fraser's comment that he's very much open to, increasing the number of immigration quotas, it is quite promising. That only means that, the more quota they open up means more invitations, means more people get to go through. The immigration levels plan for 2022 to 2024 is due to be announced in February. So you can expect that news coming up. And when that comes up, then we will see what kind of quotas they have released for the following years. In another news, another very, very exciting news that was announced yesterday, that was effective the 30th of November. Canada will accept Covaxin, Sinopharm, and Sinovac as the eligible vaccines, or rather they have been expanded. The original list included only Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and AstraZeneca, and Covishield. And so a lot of people could not travel. They were not considered as eligible travelers because they were not fully vaccinated. But now with Canada now accepting Covaxin, Sinopharm, and Sinovac, you can expect many, many, many more people who were earlier not being able to come to Canada. They had valid visit visas. They were even approved for other work permits, etc., or they were approved for spouse open work permits. But they could not travel because they did not have the travel exemptions. And now they will all be able to travel. There is no problem. But keep in mind that in order to be considered as fully vaccinated, the traveler must have been administered with at least 2 doses of the approved vaccine at least 14 days before departure to Canada. This is extremely important. Now, the next one is for the international students. Now, what do we have for international students? Now, effective 15th of January, all international students who are coming to Canada, they should be fully vaccinated, which basically means they should have taken their 2 doses. If they haven't taken their 2 doses, then they will not be considered as fully vaccinated. And if they still need to come to Canada, then their college must have an approved COVID readiness plan, which should have been approved by the province. Now, in some cases, that might not be very easy to obtain. So if you're an international student who's looking to come to Canada, it might be a good idea to get yourself vaccinated if you do not want to face any issues. Great. Connect with us on all our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course. That is also where we are going live right now. And we are also now on TikTok. I'm trying to put up more videos there, but please do follow me on TikTok if you're not already doing it. I promise I'm going to put more and more and more videos there, which are going to be helpful, of course. I mean, otherwise, what else do I do, right? If you are looking to book an appointment to discuss your application, your case one-on-one, then that is the link. We do have a new website. Check out the new website as well. If you're not following us on Instagram, then that's the link. And absolutely, absolutely don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We want to see those numbers going up. And I am not seeing those likes coming through. Smash, Hulk smash on your keyboard, on the like button, and let's see those numbers going up. Thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate your time, and I shall see you next time. Until then, stay safe. Take care.